Welcome to Late Night Riders. On this episode, we talk to Raquel Lynn. She is the creator of Stable Style and Horses and Heels, blog and Instagram, and she lives in California.
Yeah, the insight was great on how to live in California, how to take care of a horse in California. They ride on the streets. I mean, it's an amazing podcast that we had. It was so much fun talking to her. She's an entertainer. She calls herself the Martha Stewart. She's so cute.
Yeah, so enjoy.
Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Hey there. So,
Hello.
Raquel, what can you tell us, like, when you first started into horses and how you got into them?
I actually grew up on a farm in Ohio, so I was one of those lucky girls who was born with horses in the barn, and, I had a pony growing up, so, my first pony was a little Shetland that I named Lightning, and he was, this adorable little black pony that I rode everywhere on the farm. I used to run around in like tutus, and I'd play dress up with him, and I'd make him do tricks and all kinds of stuff. So I think I, just started early with the love of a pony, and then, as I got older, my parents put me in 4-H, and I started showing and doing different disciplines. So I think I've just always been a horse girl.
So that sounds so much like my mom. She started the same way with the dresses and tutus and ponies and all those things.
Did.
You horse girls are really like, you guys have a passion for this. So as you grew older, did you continue with that on, or did you get out of it during school times, or what was that like for you?
So growing up, as I started to get a little bit older, my parents made me do everything. So I eventually started showing a little pinto pony named Pirate, and we got him when I was 9 years old, and he was a brat. He definitely taught me how to ride, and he was horrible. My mom used to have to get on him sometimes when he would be really, really bad. And I remember when my parents got him, they paid like $500 for him, and they're like, oh my gosh, what did we get our daughter? Because he was just really bad. But eventually he was kind of, I think I still refer to him as like my heart horse, because I've never had really a connection like I had with him. I basically did everything with him, from reining to barrels to trail riding, pleasure. I broke him to drive a cart, all that stuff. So I showed him for a really long time. And then I started getting into barrel racing. And so eventually I told my parents, I don't want to do this other stuff. So we joined MBHA, and I started barrel racing. And then I kept Pirate, of course, and I found another paint horse who was a little bit bigger, something that would be a little bit faster to compete on. And so I had him growing up. I did take maybe like a 2-year hiatus from horses when I was in school, in college, but I never really, lost the passion for it. I think it was just,
What did you
timing
study?
and everyone.
What did you study in college?
I went to a broadcasting school, so it was actually just an apprenticeship program, because I actually originally wanted to do like a morning show and do on-air talent.
Wow. So how did you get into the blogging then? When did that start?
So what happened is, while I was working at a radio station, I got a job in promotions, and that was fine. Not exactly what I wanted to do, but I was like, okay, I'm, climbing my way in the door. After that, I got an internship at a recording studio, and I was doing their internship, and they actually offered me a job running their social media. And this is actually really funny, because I didn't even have a Facebook account when they offered me the job, but they knew I was a really hard worker, and, I just had passion. So they hired me, and I started doing social media. I probably did that for about a year and a half, and then the company started having some financial problems, and they ended up going under. So, that was super disappointing for me. And, I got a job basically as an executive assistant and was like, okay, what am I going to, do next? And that's when I kind of started the blog, because my day job, was in the corporate world, and it was very boring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that Horses
like,
and Heels?
Yeah, so that's when I started Horses and Heels. It was back in, I believe, 2010. I used to, take a notebook with me to work, and I would, sketch out, ideas and things that I wanted to blog about, and, the website design. And so it kind of evolved from a need to have a creative outlet, and that's kind of how that started.
And just that strong passion that you talked about, that really goes a long distance, doesn't it, too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been blogging ever since, and it took me a few years, to make the leap and take Horses and Heels to, a full-time job. But, there are days when I'm like, oh, I have to do this, and I don't really want to. But I have an amazing job. I get to, work from home and set my own hours, and,
So
it's amazing.
When you first started, how were you balancing writing, starting your blog, and then also, I assume you had a day job?
Yeah, I mean, balance. I don't know if we ever had that. I think a lot of it was just, sneaking in blog work at my day job, because, on my lunch break, I would have an hour, and, I would just cram a sandwich while working on, I'd have my laptop, and I'd go to Starbucks, or I'd go, in the break room, and I'd be working on the blog for an hour, or, you stay up late, you get up early, you fit it in whenever you can. So I think that was very challenging, and I think I just came, to kind of like a breaking point where I was like, I won't be able to grow if I don't, give up the job. So that's eventually when I quit my job.
What did you think Horses and Heels looked like when you first started, and what did it end up being then as you went along?
Oh my gosh. I think if you followed me from the beginning, I might use the word embarrassing, because I started blogging when no one else was really doing it. So, now if someone wants to become a blogger, there are all of these resources out there, and, they start out and they take amazing photos, and they have all of these pre-made, websites that they can buy, and everything is very easy. Back then, I call it the blogging Stone Ages. I didn't know what I was doing. I took really, really bad photos. Like, when I posted food photography, there was glare, obviously camera technology is better now than it was then, because I take a lot of photos with my iPhone. So I just think that back then, in my head, I thought it would be this fun site where I would kind of just share things that I was passionate about, shopping finds, food recipes, just like lifestyle content. So I think what I wanted it to be, it has evolved, into that. I think now I take better photos, obviously, and I think, it is just, it's improved a lot. So I think, and it always will evolve. I think that's kind of, your blog just kind of grows as you grow. And that's the one thing that I've kind of I've learned over the years is, a blog is going to change, and my blog has changed a lot, and that's okay, because, it changes when I do.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever hit a place where you feel like with your horses, like you everything that you do is about horses, but then you kind of get so busy, you don't get time for your horses? Have you ever seen like your occupation, kind of the struggle between the horses and your occupation, or do you feel like you can balance that?
Well, now I balance it really well. There was a time when I had the blog and I didn't have a horse. There was basically, I just call it a transition period when my husband and I had just gotten married. We were living in Ohio. He was offered a job in New York City. So, I had a paint mare at the time, and I knew I couldn't take her with me, and I didn't want to sell her, so I ended up leasing her to a friend. So I left her behind and, moved with him to New York City. And, we were in New York City for probably 2 months, and then my husband got a job out here in Los Angeles, so we moved again. So, a year went by, and my friend leased the horse, and, we were out here in California, and I was like, I can't afford a horse because it's very expensive out here. And that first year we were living in Santa Monica, which is right by the beach, which is really nice, but, it's not a horse area at all. So then I ended up, doing another year lease with her. And then at the end of that second year we had made some more moves around here, and that's when I kind of started, navigating my way into like the horse world in like LA. And I was like, okay, I can board out here, I can find, a place to keep a horse. So I decided I wanted my horse back. But the lease agreement that I had with my friend was that she could buy her at the end. So when I said I want my horse back, she was like, hey, I want to buy her. So I was like, I figured that would happen. So that's how I got Fira. I took the money from my old mare Rumor and I bought her. So I guess, to answer your question, I think that when it comes to, balancing horses and work and everything, I think there are times that you have to, you have to make a sacrifice, and maybe you have to put horses on hold or something like that. But now, since we've been living here, in the rancho, my husband gets to, pursue his music, and he's very busy with that career. And then I get to, work from home and have a horse in the backyard, who I'm very lucky now, just by not boarding, I take care of her all the time, even if there are weeks when I'm like, oh, I can't ride her that much, but, on my lunch break, I'll just go out and sit in the stall with her, or, I'll take her for a 20-minute walk down the street. So, it's a give and take, I think.
So how does that work? I know you live in that residential area, and, of course, here we are used to our horses like being in our barns and things. How does that work for you then in your area? I know you said you have a stall, and you're walking down streets and things, so.
Yeah, so her stall is basically, it's a 25 by 30. It's half covered in the back, so she's got shade and protection, because, out here in, Southern California, we really don't get winter, so most people don't have traditional barns. So, I have to make sure that I get her out. I try to every single day. She's not locked up in a 12 by 12, so that's good. She has room where if she wants to, she will run around and buck. But there are, there's public arenas, and there's a round pen, and when I got her, she actually wasn't broke. So everyone thought I was crazy, because they're like, she was a 3-year-old, and they're like, you're buying a green 3-year-old and like bringing her to the city? And
in
I
the
said,
city,
sure,
yeah.
why not? So, I used to have to walk 20 minutes every day to a round pen and lead her, so I think you just kind of make it work. But I make sure that, she gets turnout, or like, I'll go out for a quick bareback ride, or just take her out. There's different areas where I lunge her. Honestly, I have more space to ride here than I did growing up on, 400-acre farms. So it's just different because obviously there's a lot of, there's things that you have to be very cautious with and aware of because the surroundings of an urban environment, are very different. There are garbage trucks and things, drones, things like that are frightening to horses.
So I think Trevor just laughed at me because I said they have like signs that, you can have horse crosswalking things and, she's walking him on the streets and there's cars there. And he's like, well, yeah, like they have horses in New York, but I'm like, I don't think pedestrian horses. So it was really, I guess I've never seen anything like that. And I thought that was pretty exciting. But did you have to do things to just desensitize her so that when you're saying things are being thrown or, you have somebody jump out or open the drones. Or, yeah.
That would be scary.
Yeah, absolutely. She's come a long way. And I think it's just one of those things where her being young and being introduced to all this stuff at a young age, it was good for her. But there are just, definitely times when you just have to be very cautious. And I'm always, especially when I'm on a street, because I'm riding on concrete.
Yeah.
That's not the time to have your horse spooking or thinking about jolting. So for the most part with her, I'll always just let her, she's very curious by nature, which is good. So I'll make sure she sees it and she gets to look at it. And usually she wants to approach whatever frightening thing we have. So that's good. If it's something where I'm like, okay, this could be really dangerous, then I'll just turn around and we'll go down like a different street. Because I've had construction where I was like, I don't think it's a good idea. Or I'll get off with her if it's going to be something where I don't think I can ride her past it.
Are the drones like a distance away? Does she just hear the noise? Or is that something where they kind of are a little closer? I was just a little curious about that.
It's the buzzing sound. So there's a park that I ride by where drones are actually illegal, but we have a problem with them. There's plenty of, it doesn't matter that they're illegal. They like to fly them. The guys, a lot of the non-horse people don't realize, even bikers, for example, like they don't realize that these are flight animals. And they can be spooked so easily. So sometimes, the drone is close enough where usually I can see it and hear it. And for her, she usually just hears that buzzing sound, and then you see the ears, and you're like,
yeah,
she's terrorized.
So going to, I guess, a nicer aspect from that, you wrote something to us before this, how, like, you can go to all these different sites from your backyard. I guess give us some insight of what that's like, especially for those who might not even know, like, even see it that way, not living in California.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of my favorite parts. Basically, from my backyard, I can ride into Griffith Park. So I'll leave my neighborhood, and then I'll go over this loop it's a mile loop that goes around the LA Equestrian Center, and that's kind of like the main hub of, the horsey area. And then I cross, a swinging bridge over the LA River. I go under a couple of tunnels, and then I'm in Griffith Park. So I've been able to ride my horse to the Hollywood sign. I've ridden her to the Griffith Observatory. I've taken her to the Bronson Bat Caves, which are really cool. So I have a lot of great trail riding destinations.
The picture of you with the, it was like a stone building behind you. Where was that?
Oh, that's the old zoo.
Okay.
That's
okay.
really
That was
cool.
very pretty.
For all of our listeners who want to feel like you're there, Raquel posts her riding to these places on her Instagram stories, and it's really fun to watch.
So what is
I try to share.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I said I try to share a lot of my adventures on Instagram because, that's the exciting part for me. And then I've also met a lot of horse girls where we've met on Instagram and, they happen to be in SoCal and then they'll come out here and go for a ride with me. So that's been really fun.
So do they find this on the Horses and Heels Instagram, I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah, I post on my Instagram, and then sometimes I'll do a blog post with, more photos and kind of explain the rep a little more. I like to do both.
That's cool.
So then how did you, because you have 2 of these that you do stable style as well. So how did you branch off into stable style?
So stable style kind of evolved as an idea from Horses and Heels. I started, a section on Horses and Heels where I was like, oh, I want to, I love barns and, I want to have a section and I'm going to call it stable style. So I started doing that and I thought it was really popular. And I really liked doing stable style content. And, there were a couple times when I was like, oh, I want to do like 3 stable style posts this week. But I was like, you can't do that. Like, your blog is lifestyle. You have to vary it and you can't just, start posting only barns. So that's when I got the idea to turn stable style into a separate blog because I was like, I want to have, the barn tours, and I knew it was also, again, popular, and Horses and Heels, the demographic is a little more niche because, they're following me and it's a little more personal, but on stable style, it's not personal, it's any equestrian, I think, can relate to it. So that's kind of why I started it as a separate blog.
Do you think this blog, the stable style, was easier to lift off than your first one?
Absolutely. I mean, it's already, on Instagram, it's already passed up Horses and Heels. And in terms of traffic lately, it's starting to beat Horses and Heels, and I'm okay with that. I guess it's kind of like having your second born child being more talented than the first one. That's okay. Because I, took a lot of tips and tricks I learned with Horses and Heels, and obviously if you started one blog, the second blog is so much easier to do. So, I think it's a dedicated site, and I think that makes it a lot more popular.
So what are the trends that you see that people are gravitating to? Are there colors or certain things that they're liking right now as far as the stable style goes?
So I would say there's a few different types of content. Of course, everybody loves to see those, multi-million-dollar barns that most of us cannot afford. Those do really well. But what's really popular are the small barns, the obtainable barns, and, the barn renovations, actually, because people love, a story and before and after photos. So I think that, it kind of goes back and forth. Like recently I shared this miniature shed transformation, and people just love that because the girl Bethany she did everything herself. So that was very popular.
So DIY and able to do it yourself, and kind of gives them inspiration to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, sometimes just unique barns. There's another stable in Italy, and their stall tradition is very different. And I've seen a lot of people, it gets a lot of comments because people are like, this is dangerous. And it's like, they've tested it, it's not dangerous, but it looks so different than what we are used to seeing in the United States, that it gets a lot of traffic. And I think that's another thing worth mentioning too. My audience for Horses and Heels is primarily U.S. based, but the audience on stable style is more international.
That's really cool.
So what's trending in Horses and Heels right now?
Let's see. You know what? Shoes, boots, those are always trending. Recipes. I do a lot of cocktail recipes, and, you know, thanks to Pinterest, those are always doing really well. You know, when I do personal stories, or I don't do too many updates with Fira, I'll do those kind of, you know, every few months.
Mm-hmm.
Those generally get a pretty good response as well.
Do you feel like it's better to not put so many personal things on there and give more of the maybe, you know, like you said, boots or things that people actually like? Do you feel like that's a better way to do it, that people are more attracted to that? And do you feel like it gives you a big push when you put something up that's personal?
You know, it's tough. For me, because I'm active on so many different social media platforms, and I have so many different kinds of readers on Horses and Heels. I post all the different content for different reasons. And it's calculated. You know, when I post a pair of boots, it's generally because people are going to buy it, and then I'm going to, you know, make affiliate commission. And also, obviously, I like them. Mm-hmm. You know, when I do the personal stories, for me, that's fun, and then it helps my readers, you know, connect with me. Mm-hmm. You know, and then the same thing with the recipes. Those sometimes go viral on Pinterest, and that just gets me a lot of traffic. Mm-hmm. So I feel like you just have to have the variety of content, you know, for different reasons.
So have you experienced anything where you feel like you are well known and people recognize you, and are you comfortable with that? Do you like that, or is that something that you kind of like to stay more personal and your, you know, I don't know, how do you feel about that?
You know, I wouldn't say like I'm recognized or well known, at least to me. I have had a couple of articles written about me, and just kind of, you know, life in general with like Sarah and in the city. Horse Illustrated did an article on me last December, and then I was also featured in Chrome magazine last summer as well. So that's been fun. In terms of just like being, I don't know what the right word is, but I'm a pretty reserved person. I mean, one of the reasons I started blogging was actually just so that I could hide behind my computer. You know, I liked that idea, and then, you know, Instagram came along later where everyone's like, you know, it's so much more, I guess, in your face, and you have to be a lot more outgoing. So I've become more outgoing, I think, because of blogging. Which is good, and I've become, you know, a lot more social and a lot more open. And I think also living in LA, like, that doesn't hurt either. You know, it kind of just puts you out of your comfort zone a little bit, which is good because, you know, you only grow when you're outside of your comfort zone.
That's right.
What is it like living in an equestrian neighborhood? Are you seeing other people riding all the time, or is it more private than that?
No, I mean, I see people all the time. Like, I love this neighborhood. My neighbor next door has a horse, so Sarah and him, they can see each other over the fence. So that's how I know, actually, my neighbor Donnie, like, I know when he's feeding his horse because he gives Fira cookies, so she runs over there whenever he's home. And she's a nosy neighbor. So, you know, when I take her out, I mean, sometimes I ride in the afternoons, depending on, you know, I guess time of year, temperature, and my schedule. You know, you won't see as many people then, but there are always people out and about with horses. I mean, also there are goats in this neighborhood, too, so it's not strange to see a person riding and their goat following along. Or, you know, like, sometimes there's this really cute mini pony, and it'll be going for a walk down the sidewalk. So you kind of get to know, I mean, you know, it's a big city, but the equestrian community it's small. So you get to know everybody, you know, just by running into them and seeing them. And for the most part, everyone is very friendly.
Nice.
I think I had the opposite question to that. Like, do you feel like there's so many people that you feel like you can't ride when you want to, but your schedule allows for that? But do you think if somebody had a regular, you know, schedule of going to work and coming home and only being able to ride when most people do you feel like there's still enough room for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of space out here. You'd be surprised how it's kind of all sprawled out. So even when everybody is out, there's this big unfenced-in area we call Easter Field, and it's a big sand arena where a lot of people will go, you know, for lunging or riding. You know, there's that mile loop around the equestrian center where a lot of people like to go. I mean, it does get a lot more busy on weekends. In fact, I try not to ride on Saturdays and Sundays because there are also trail rentals out here, so people can come to LA and they can rent horses, and, you know, they can ride to the Hollywood sign if they want to. So weekends are pretty big for, like, trail groups and stuff like that. And for that reason, I try to do my riding during the week, and then, you know, on weekends, like, I gotta give her the time off, or, you know, I'll do something close by in the morning.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, if there are places where you can go to stay out there to ride horses. So that's pretty cool. Are there several places, or is there just like a one centrally located place?
No, there are 4, I believe, right now, right outside of Griffith Park. So, you know, you have options.
And are they all like Western, or are they English, or a mix of both?
They're all Western.
They're all Western. And is there a place where you can bring your own horses if you wanted to bring them in to trail ride like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can trailer in. A lot of my friends will. And there's different parking spots. And there's also, what's been really helpful is there's a group on Facebook for the local riders. So people will, you know, I'm in that Facebook group, and, you know, that's how I found my vet, you know, my farrier, you know, word of mouth and referrals, which has been really nice. So if someone usually wants to come and ride here, they will be like, oh, where can I park, you know, and everyone will tell them the different options that are available.
Nice.
That's nice.
Well, that's nice. Well, we will be taking a short break, and when we get back, we will go into our next segment, Canter Banter.
Our next segment, Canter Banter, is brought to you by RAMM Horse Fencing and Stalls, the one-stop shop for your horse farm. RAMM is family-owned and operated and has been in business for over 30 years. We welcome you to call in and speak with an expert about your next project today at 866-653-8984. Again, that's 866-653-8984.
And we're back. I love your introduction that you have on your Horses and Heels. You say, I'm the Martha Stewart of the equestrian world, but younger, nicer, and more glam.
I love that. I love that.
So we're going to talk about entertaining and what you see going on right now, what you're really liking as far as drinks and dishes to take along, and if there's anything that you guys do as far as like getting together and having a party.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess part of, you know, living here, I don't know if I mentioned, but, you know, I work from home, and my husband is in and out as well. He actually has a studio in the backyard. So we are always having people come over. If he's, you know, working with clients, or, you know, his production partner is over. And I actually think I said to my husband one time, I said, our house can never be a mess. Because it has to be ready for people to come over, you know, like any given moment. So it's always clean, you know. I'm always like, the pillows are fluffed, like this has to be, you know, a certain way. Someone's always coming into the kitchen for, you know, a drink or something. So you know, I feel like just having, you know, a home that looks entertaining and ready, I guess, is just a part of life. I mean, I think it's fun anyways, but it's actually, you know, a work task too. So I'm always, you know, making sure that we have the fridge stocked with, you know, fruit-fused water, you know, lots of lemons, citrus. You know, I kind of keep the basics on hand, you know, always have like sparkling water and a full, you know, bar cart. And that's something fun that, you know, when my friends and I do a long trail ride, a lot of times, like, we'll bring a cocktail along with us, because why not? When, you know, you're going out for a 4-hour ride.
That's right.
Why not?
What's your go-to cocktail?
Let's see. I mean, I love margaritas, and I also love sangria, just because that's something that is great for entertaining and having people over, because it's easy to make in batches, and I think everybody else loves it too. Like, recently I made a raspberry lemonade rosé sangria on the blog, and everyone loved that. So that's something that I think is going to be really good, that I'll be, you know, repeating it for summer.
Nice.
So do you feel like it, I mean, when you were in Cleveland, did you do a lot of entertaining like that? And is there, I mean, you know the difference. It's cold here. And it's got to be so much easier to entertain and have everything, like you're saying, citrusy. And we're not even really quite there yet. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot different because we have a very big outdoor patio. So a lot of times, you know, we'll have friends over and we'll just, we'll hang out on the patio, and, you know, I mean, it's 70 right now, so our patio is basically used all year round, and that's really nice. I think that's one of the things about California that makes, you know, living out here very attractive, is just, you know, the outdoor living space and having that kind of place that, you know, I've kind of turned our patio into like an oasis with like lots of rugs and pillows and, you know, plants.
Oh, it sounds beautiful. And what do you like to take with you when you ride for like your snacks or food to eat? Do you have anything that you is like a you know, something that, like Gretchen said, a go-to for that?
Well, I think it's always good to take, you know, fresh fruits, vegetables. You know, I bring carrots for Sierra on trail rides, and she looks forward to those. You know, if we stop and if I just tap her on the neck, she'll look back and she expects a carrot. So she likes to have those. There is a picnic spot that's not too far that actually I've been wanting to go with a friend, and I've been wanting to bring a cheese board.
Oh, nice.
Because I think that would be really nice. So I think, you know, riding and bringing food, you just have to bring light snacks and things that, you know, they are packed in a bag, and something that is okay if it gets, you know, bopped around a little bit. I did have a time when I was riding and I brought soda in my backpack, and we were cantering along a path, and we stopped because I go, hey, is my back wet? And I felt like something was, you know, dripping, and sure enough, my keys had punctured the soda can, and it spilled, yeah, all in the backpack. So I learned my lesson on that one, because it was my fault. I did a poor pack job. Which I guess that should be mentioned. If you're bringing something in a backpack, you need to make sure it's always in a smaller cooler or something, that you don't care if that does spill into your backpack.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have thought too much about soda and cantering either, because I probably wouldn't think about that. So that's a good tip too. So, well, we hope you enjoyed listening to our podcast and encourage you to share with all of your equestrian family and friends. You can tune in to Late Night Riders podcast show every Friday night. Each episode will be uploaded exclusively on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel and stay up to date with all of our latest shows. Do you have a topic you'd like to discuss? We want to hear from you. You may email us at podcast@ramfence.com or feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you.